Welcome. You're listening to the 365 Firsts podcast, a show filled with stories of experiencing first times and all the fun, growth, unknowns, and excitement that go with them. It's also the place to get expert advice, motivation, and inspiration to get in on trying new things. And now, here's your host, the master of first times, and chick you're trying to keep up with, Ann Bernard.
It might be time to explore what Feng Shui can do for you. My guest expert is a certified Feng Shui practitioner, Candice Berlanga, and she's here to give you advice before your first time practicing Feng Shui. Candice is a graduate of the Gold Program School VIA Feng Shui Training and Mentoring, certified Feng Shui practitioner and red ribbon professional with the International Feng Shui Guild, and a lifelong student of the Chinese metaphysics. Welcome to the show, Candice.
Thank you for having me.
How did you get interested in and started with practicing Feng Shui?
I think with a lot of people that come to trying to practice something kind of alternative, really it was just some problems in my own life I was trying to kind of figure out. And on top of it, my kids were kind of going back to school, my daughter really, she was my youngest. She was starting school full time and actually she was already in school full time, But for me to think of something I could do for myself, to start a business for myself, I kind of incorporated what I've learned with my Feng Shui into a business.
What are the other benefits?
The benefits really depend on your goals. And as I mentioned, I wanted to improve my relationship. And it's actually in a very indirect way. So I didn't move my furniture and my relationship improved. It was more about learning about my personal energy and what I was actually creating in my life. So we can definitely achieve the goals if you have goals of health. If you have goals of growth, like I said, I practice and focus on business growth and strategy. And so it just depends on the goals of the person. Whatever your goal is, that is the benefit you'll be able to receive, as well as insight into your own personal and why you act the way you act and why you think the way you think and all kinds of stuff.
What can somebody expect that if I want to look more into this, these are the requirements or this is what it's about?
I'd like to keep Feng Shui very simple. And somebody wanting to, as of course, the first time apply Feng Shui, I really kind of simplify it a little bit more than I'm, I guess, explaining right now. So let me just start out by saying this. Okay, Feng Shui is actually part of the 5 arts of Chinese metaphysics. So you've probably heard of like acupuncture or acupressure. That's Chinese medicine. That's one of them. Divination is another one, which is like I Ching. I don't know if you've ever heard of the I Ching. A lot of people kind of have. It's one of the oldest systems of divination. Even if you haven't heard of the I Ching, you've at least heard of tarot. The Chinese have their own system of divination, several different systems. The next one would be what's considered mountain, and that's martial arts and Tai Chi and stuff like that, harnessing your energy, and even a little bit more esoteric teachings. And the reason it's called mountain is because it would be something you would go into the mountains to do. Typically, these temples are located at what are called meridian spots in the mountains, and that's where one will go to practice these different kinds of art. The next one is life readings, and this is where I think I've gained the most insight. It's actually a reading of your natal chart and your birth chart, and so it's a lot like astrology, but it's just Chinese astrology. And the fifth one is physiognomy, which is where Feng Shui actually falls. And so Feng Shui actually falls under this category. Physiognomy is actually the study of the appearance of the way things are shaped. Feng Shui really is about the way your environment, it's reading your environment and the way your environment is formed around you. And that can be external and internal.
How does someone proceed into practicing the art of Feng Shui?
A lot of people associate Feng Shui with like the waving kitties at restaurants or bells that are hung on the door, or even like the little statues of dragons. I have one behind me, as you can see, but our listeners won't be able to see. But this is actually not Feng Shui at all. And so I want people to take this out of their mind and kind of throw that idea away. Feng Shui, like I said, is actually the study of the appearance or the way things are in your surrounding environment. And so the easiest thing you could do is start by assessing your larger environment So all you have to really do is look around you, outside of your windows, outside of your doors, and kind of see what you see around you. If you see like a beautiful mountain in the distance, or there's a pretty park or a lake down the street you can kind of see from your window, this is really a way chi is harnessed. And chi, or the definition of chi, comes from the original Feng Shui text, which is called the Burial Book. It actually originated from the way people were buried. And the definition that is given is that chi is scattered by the wind or dispersed by the wind, and it gathers on the boundaries of water. And so the name Feng Shui actually means wind and water. And so you look at the mountains and you look at the water and you look at it where it is in relation to your home. So even if you don't know about Feng Shui, but you know a beautiful lake, or you know a beautiful mountain or a beautiful park, you live off of a golf course, these are ways to say like, hey, I have a good, what is called chi flow. So I actually live on the panhandle plains of Texas. We don't have any mountains and we have very limited water, and that's okay. So what I do is, it could even be, so the next thing actually you look at is kind of your microenvironment. So you can look at your immediate surroundings, and all you really have to do is make sure you don't have a lot of accumulation of trash. Say your neighbors did a construction project and they have their sink and tires and all kinds of crap. We've all had neighbors like that where they might dump some trash. Make sure there's no accumulation of large piles of trash. Make sure you're not seeing things like electric pylons and towers. Really, as long as you open your front door, so it's as simple as opening your front door and looking out. And if you have a yard space, if you have, even in a business, you can look at the parking lot. If you just have a nice parking lot, it doesn't have to be grassy or extra special or anything. This is actually what is called a Ming Tong, or a bright hall in Feng Shui. And the chi, or the energy flow, actually is said to collect in this area.
What can you do in your inside environment that probably have a lot more control over?
If you live in an apartment, I know some of the apartments have things like a little courtyard or something like that, or maybe like a little community garden outside. These are all areas that chi collects. And if you have one of these areas outside your door, you're doing pretty good. The next thing you could do is just look at, so you stand outside your door now and you look inside your home. And you should also have what is called an internal bright hall, or the Ming Tong, inside your home. And so this could be something like a foyer, or some people's homes just opens to their living room, but it's a nice spacious living room. You do just want to make sure you're not coming in. If you see straight up the stairs, or I know there's a lot of homes that see straight down the stairs, that just means all the energy flow is going straight to those areas. I know there's some superstitions, I guess, in Feng Shui. If you have a bathroom immediately as you come in, that it's bad Feng Shui. It's only bad Feng Shui because you're not able to use the area enough to collect that chi that's going there. So sometimes it's just as simple as closing those doors. Maybe you could add a little partition, but of course don't block the doorway. I think one of the main things that I see people do, and it drives me crazy, is that they actually will put up like a rocking chair or some seasonal decor or something like that, but it's oversized for their space. And so you just don't want it. You want a nice unobstructed doorway. And of course you want to make sure the door is in good repair. The door is actually the chi mouth to your home. So think of it as nourishment, like our mouths are to our bodies, the door is to our home.
What are some of the other things that you can do inside? Do you do it room by room? Is the concept applicable room by room?
I always recommend that people start in their bedroom and the kitchen, because they're the two main areas you probably spend the most time in. I know I just did a video the other day, and it was about the bedroom. And I think that the statistic was that we spend 22 years of our lives sleeping, but we actually spend another 7 years of our lives trying to go to sleep. And so if we can minimize some of that time, and we can get a more restful night's sleep, then of course we'll be healthier. And your bedroom is actually assessed in terms of your relationship, your romantic relationship. And so you just want to make sure your bed, if you look straight into your bedroom, you don't want to see your bed head on. So you just want to make sure that you're not placing your bed under a sloped ceiling. You want to make sure you're not placing it underneath a beam, and you're not facing any sharp corners. One of the other things is that you want to avoid placing a mirror where it's reflecting onto your bed, only because if the sunlight is also reflecting, it's too active of a surface. And so if you could always kind of just cover that up with a little curtain or something, if you do want, need a mirror in your bedroom, or if you have limited space. I know some people can't work with, adjusting everything perfectly, but you can work with what you have.
Does that include like looking at how you've decorated your space and seeing if you can take certain things away that are going to open things up?
You can. I think the thing that I focus most on, because we do have to live, and of course we all have our preferences on what we like around us, so I don't like to take anything away from people, but just having small things like just little places you could drop stuff, or things you can organize, bins you can organize in. I think some of the things, make sure there's not a lot of clutter around your bed, like dirty clothes. And I think we can crowd our room out with too much furniture sometimes.
Now, you mentioned the kitchen. What are the big things in the kitchen?
The kitchen, the stove is focused on mostly kind of like the bed is. It's the focus when you are doing a consultation for health. You want to focus on where the stove is in the kitchen. One of the biggest thing that drives me crazy that I see in new floor plans is that they always have these beautiful kitchens, and it'll be this beautiful gas stove and, a chef kitchen, but it's on a center island. And when you have a stove that's in a central island, it's known as a formation known as fire burning the heavenly heart. And if you have the stove in the center of your room, it's like fire in the center of your body. You always want the center of your home to be free of just clutter and stuff like that. You definitely don't want a stove. And so the same thing goes for the stove that's on an island.
What are some of the tips as far as how to set up, if you have a home office or wherever you work, to ensure that there's good, it's good energy in that space, since you're probably spending a lot of time there as well?
Yes. It's a lot of the same, I guess, tips or the same rules as like the stove and the bed. So you want to avoid being backed by a window. You want to avoid, some people have like an extra door, maybe in their office, like an outside door to their office. You don't want your back to be right to that door. And of course, avoid the sloped ceiling and the ceiling beam. Do that for your desk.
What is with the back to the door? So why don't you want your back to the door?
If it's a door you use a lot, then it's too much energy behind you. You always want to be, it's called a command position. So you always want to be in the command position in your desk.
How can they take notice of where they're at and how they can shift into a different energy flow?
I would say just try it. I would start with your bed. I would look at where your bed is at. And again, I think looking at your surrounding environment, for people that are in a city, the buildings actually they're like virtual mountains. And so for some people, they thrive in that, and they don't need a lot of the nature. They don't even like it. So, but for them, it works.
Can you give us your website again?
Yes. My website's fengshuibycandice.com, and it'll be available for immediate download as a 8-page guide for Feng Shui for the business owner. And so whether you own a store or, just a reception desk, or if you work from home, I have some handy tips in there for Feng Shui for the business owner. And I think the last page is actually my favorite. It is a tip on staying grounded, I guess, in a business crisis. So we all go through business crisis, and we all go through times we want to give up when we own a business. And so that was just a little encouragement on that last page. So I hope somebody can benefit from that.
So I really appreciate you being on the show. Is there anything else? Did I forget anything?
Not that I can think of. I know I had a lot of notes for outdoor stuff, but it's just a lot. So I think we gave people enough to think about for today. So I think, yeah. I try and make it simple, just to start out. I tell people let's just follow what's called the forms, and then don't worry about the decorations.
Yep. Yeah. And when they want, and as they want to learn more and do more, they can actually contact you and do that. So again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the 365 Firsts podcast. Hope you've gotten inspired to start your journey of first times and new experiences. Join the 365 Firsts Challenge by downloading the app at your local app store. Check out Next Level Firsts Coaching for additional assistance. Contact us if you want to share the stories of your latest firsts on the show. Now, go get busy having new experiences.